Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence to remember our troops abroad and our families here at home, and also for the passing of Vic Carrara. Let's go. Thank you.
I thought I heard the beat for the firemen. That was the beat for the firemen.
Push that to the end of the
Did you hear the beat for the firemen that all the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah. Well, now you've got to see. They're going out to a fire. First item on our agenda, presentation, National Dance Week Foundation donation to our Sandy Relief Fund. Someone here from the National Dance Week?
Maybe not yet.
Maybe not yet. Come back to that. We had some proclamations and certificates of valor for our water rescue team, but obviously you just saw them run out. We have distress runners off of 16 down, so let's hope that that's okay. If the council would like to join me, we will have a presentation for our Employee of the Month. Okay, as everyone knows, we like to honor our employees who are doing a phenomenal job here in Belmar. So we have an Employee of the Month every month. And I'm going to call this woman to come up to join me. And her name is Colleen Dillon. Stay right here. Let's see what kind of shades of red Colleen can turn. Colleen has been operating arts and crafts in less than ideal space here at 601 Main Street instead of the Taylor Pavilion, where the program usually is. She expanded the arts and crafts program to include Club Kid on the Beach, essentially providing a satellite location for arts and crafts. Colleen has worked for Belmar for 15 years. She started working in 1999. And she's also recruited her daughter, Erin, who's with us also. She makes her work fun. She runs kids' activities at numerous borough-sponsored events throughout the year. The biggest one she does is the Seafood Festival, where they have a whole kids' tent. And Colleen is passionately dedicated to Belmar, our residents, and most specifically, the children of our town. So please join me in honoring our Employee of the Month, Colleen. You also get some Belmar bucks to spend here in Belmar as well, and a certificate. And I think the Councilman Governor would like to say a few words. The one who knows the best.
Yeah, I've really known Colleen since she was in high school, so that was what, a couple years ago. Yeah. And she's been a great family friend for many, many years. And when I was recreation director, I needed an assistant at Arts and Crafts for the summer, and someone said, "What about Colleen?" And I said, "Great." And she's been, you say 15 years?
It's more like 17, 19.
Yeah. So she's been at the Summer Arts and Crafts program for many, many years. The Seafood Festival, Club Kid, in the wintertime when we have the Saturday programs where the kids come down to the gym. You can't think of a better person in town to send your kids to than Colleen. So she did a great, great job for all these years in Belmar. Okay. Now you want to say something nice about me?
Colleen, you want to say if you're working on the Metro Driver government?
No, I'm totally shocked. Yeah. Thank you very much. I love working with the kids. I love working in this town. And I hope to stay here for a long time and be back in the pavilion staying here longer.
And of course, we will completely embarrass Colleen by putting her picture up on the website. So, Aaron, you're responsible for getting a picture, okay? Next, if the council's mind to staying here, I want to offer a resolution. Be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar on the 5th day of August 2014 that the following persons are appointed and confirmed as patrolmen of the Belmar Police Department effective August 5th, 2014. Anthony Stenick and Brian Popper. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. You guys rushed to death. So let's have Brian come up first, and his mom and dad are witnesses also. They're going to hold the Bible. Brian is probably not an unfamiliar face to most everyone here because he's already a Class 2 police officer here in Belmar. So he certainly knows his way around Belmar, and he can do a great job. Let's reverse though. Have him on the other side. It's just kind of pictures. Just put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Brian Poppert.
I, Brian Popper,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution
that I support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in the state
and in this the state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all duties
all duties
as patrolman of the Belmar Police Department
as patrolman of the Belmar Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Good luck. And by the way, Brian McGovern did have something to say about Brian Poppert as well. Brian?
Well, I liked Kevin better. No, really, I was telling Matt inside before the meeting started, I said, who's the policeman going to be introduced today? And he said, Brian Poppert. And you know, I ran the recreation department for many years, and I said, Brian is one of the two best shooters I've ever come across in the recreation. David Schwerz would, I'd like to see that shooting competition between David Schwerz and Brian, you know, but when it comes to contract raises, we won't have you shoot foul shots because we know you'll get the extra money, so you have to earn it there, Brian. Another thing about Brian, he came through the recreation program. He went on and played varsity basketball at St. Rose, but on Saturdays, he would come back to the recreation department and referee the little kids. You know, that tells you where he's coming from. He gave back to the recreation department, even though he, you know, high school basketball player, varsity basketball player, still came back and blew the whistle. Sometimes he got the calls right, but you know, for the most part, he did a good job. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We got him and his great. Okay, so Anthony Stenick,
I, Anthony Stenick,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in the state
and in the state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully, impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all duties
all duties
as patrolman of the Belmar Police Department
as patrolman of the Belmar Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
While he's signing that, I'm going to say something really quick, because my 5-year-old son recently cut the top of his finger off. And he was kind enough to make sure that he was okay the day it happened, and the day after, and ever since. So, I thank him.
And gentlemen, you do join a great team, a great police department, led by some terrific people, Chief Homizano, Captain Heisman, Lieutenant Cox, and, oh my God.
All right.
Lieutenant Scott, sorry. Sorry, I'm looking right at you. And lastly, before we have everyone rush off, I know there's a lot of police here and their families. Our water rescue team, as I mentioned before, had to leave, but there was someone intimately involved in a rescue on July 4th, and I just wanted to bring him up. He's a part of this as well for a resolution and also a certificate of valor, and that's Craig Brothers. Craig, can you come up? Craig should also look familiar to you. He owns and operates the Belmar Parasail. So all those crazy people flying over, he's responsible for all that. But let me just read what he was a part of. So this is a resolution honoring the Water Rescue Team First Aid Police Department for extraordinary performance in the water rescue July 4th, 2014. Again, Craig is not a member of that, but he happened to be there. Whereas the Borough of Belmar is a top tourist destination at the Jersey Shore and attracts thousands of people to its beaches during the summer season, particularly during a holiday weekend. And whereas the Belmar Water Rescue Team was created to respond to water-related emergencies in the borough and keep visitors and residents safe while enjoying the local waters. And whereas the Belmar Water Rescue Team joined forces with the Belmar First Aid Squad to create a more effective rescue unit. And whereas the Belmar Water Rescue Team, along with the Belmar First Aid Squad and police departments, recognized the unique danger of an approaching hurricane on July 4th holiday and took actions to proactively patrol the beachfront after the lifeguards had left for the evening. And whereas on the early evening of July 4th, Hurricane Arthur passed off the coast of Belmar and created extremely large surf and dangerous rip currents. And whereas, due to the presence of beachfront members of both squads, along with the Belmar Police Department, were immediately able to respond to a 911 call for a swimmer in distress and took swift action to rescue the swimmer. And whereas rescue swimmers Christian Jessup and Brian Allen entered the water and fought through large surf and strong currents to assist the victim at personal risk themselves. And whereas local resident and business owner Craig Brothers assisted in the rescue with his jet ski with no obligation to do so and with great personal risk to himself. And whereas the Belmar First Aid responded quickly in treating the swimmer as soon as she was rescued from the water. And whereas the combined actions of the Belmar Water Rescue Team, Belmar First Aid Squad, and Belmar Police Department, as well as the actions of the individual rescuer, saved the life of this swimmer while allowing her to return safely home to her family. And now, therefore, be resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar hereby recognize and honor the Belmar Water Rescue Team, the Belmar First Aid Squad, Belmar Police Department, and rescuers Christian Jessup, Brian Allen, and Craig Brothers on their heroic action that resulted in the saving of the life of a swimmer on July 4th, 2014. Craig with a certificate of valor as well. Again, they're going to be presented to the members of the Belmar Water Rescue Team. Hopefully they come back later. If not, it's understandable why. But remember, he just happened to be out there on his jet ski. I'll let him talk a little bit about himself. But he wasn't trained for this. He's not a first responder, but he sure acted like that acted like one that day. So, Craig, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, well, I was just in the right place at the right time, and you know, we're out on the water all the time, and anytime I see like, you know, the rescue team go in a certain direction, you know, we always try and, you know, go help them out. And if it wasn't for their quick response, you know, I wouldn't have been there. You know, even though I was in the vicinity, you know, I would have never known. So I'm just glad I was there to assist. You know, Belmar's a great town. I live and work here, and I'm just glad I could assist.
Thank you.
Stay out. Big deal, 38 years. Just to say. George had I don't
Ready after.
All right. So, next item on our workshop is Green Acres Public Hearing.
I would. This portion of the meeting is actually a public hearing on an application the borough is making to the Green Acres funding of the Department of Environmental Protection to rehabilitate and remake McCleary Park. This is a project that we've had in the works now since the storm, where we acknowledge that the bulkhead largely needs to be replaced and park enhancements made. Notice of this public hearing was placed in the July 21st edition of the Asbury Park Press. I'm going to give a general overview of the project, as well as introduce our representatives from Mazer, Paul Calabrese, our borough engineer, and Kelsey Howard, who is our wonderful grant assistant who's been helping to apply for the grants that we're getting. We are submitting an application for McCleary Park improvements. This project will result in the overall redevelopment of the park to repair and replace the recreational facilities, the boardwalk, and the bulkhead damaged by Superstorm Sandy, as well as increase the parking area and make, in general, the parking facilities better use for the public space. Highlights of this plan, of which we have a board here that kind of outlines the changes to that area, include installation of new tennis courts, what we hope to be a bocce ball court, a new pavilion grass bathroom facility, decorative pavers, an event lawn, replacement of the existing bulkhead, installation of a spray park, increased parking, as well as landscaping, benches, lighting, trash cans, drainage. So it is a comprehensive plan. The grant itself is funded through Green Acres. It is structured because Belmar is considered a densely or high populated municipality. We are eligible for it's a funding structure that is 25% grant and 75% low interest loan. The application process is happening now. We won't know until 2015 if we've even been selected as one of the potential entities, but as we've promised to chase every dollar possible out there for grant money, we're chasing this one as well. The total project cost is $7.013 million. And again, this is something that's on the horizon for as a 2015 or 2016 planning item. The grant is due now. So with that, I am here to answer questions, Paul, Kelsey as well. We can take public comment. Any thoughts from the public or from the council?
Well, let's try council first and open the public.
Sure.
So this came about from 2 meetings we had at Turnstile Cafe with folks who live in the Rhode Island Point section, which is sort of everything, I guess, west of 71. McCleary Park is a great park. It's underutilized. It really is nice though. And it's really fallen into a state of disrepair, and then Sandy just exacerbated it. So this would redo all the bulkheading, correct?
Yes.
If you go down there, the bulkhead is failing. It's outlived its usefulness. And to do the job right, you have to redo the bulkhead first before you do what's going on the land itself. I know that we've made some improvements to the property, and listened to some feedback. We now have the cinder walkway, which is similar to what was around Silver Lake. Eventually, we want to put back the also, we put steps, or are in the process of constructing steps that go down into the water, right off of, I think, dive stairs. They should be done in the next couple of weeks or so. And also we have a playground that's been donated. It's also in the application. So it's important for us to remember that section of town. I'm sure Councilwoman Keon Blackburn can speak more to that as well. But I think a project like this would be great. I know there's limited funds and we're competing for it. And this is something we're not going to hear about for at least 12 months. So this may be a request that we get denied, but it's worth trying. Would you want to talk about folks in that area, what the project is?
Talking to people that live in that area, they would like to see the park upgraded. It is used by not only Belmar people, but by people from the surrounding communities. If you go past there any nice Saturday or Sunday afternoon, you'll see that it is packed in there. We do need more parking, certainly, in that area. There are times when every parking slot is full. I think it is great. I know when I was campaigning last year, one of the questions that was asked of me, and it was from somebody in town that doesn't even live in that area, was about the tennis courts and were we going to upgrade the tennis courts. So I think that's a wonderful thing. They are in disrepair. I don't know anything about it because I certainly don't play tennis. But along with the playground that we're going to have, I think it's a great time to try to enhance the rest of the park.
And I do want to mention that the bocce ball court idea is a legacy of former council president Claire Dyke, who doesn't think we have enough sports for folks of Italian heritage. So that's why we're going to try to get bocce ball. Any other comments, questions from the council?
It already is Green Acres, so does that help our application?
Not necessarily, no. It is listed on our open space recreation inventory. But I believe right now it's an unfunded property. Yeah, so this would, it is funded? Okay, it's already funded. It's not actually going to materially help our case here. But.
The one thing it does, though, when you receive, apply for and receive, if you receive Green Acres money, is it restricts what you can do with that property in the future for perpetuity. So it can never be developed. It can never be houses there. It can never be any commercial use. It'll always remain in open space. Any questions, comments from the public on this? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion or the public hearing for Green Acres and you have resolutions to
On later tonight.
next item for discussion on the workshop is the Lake Como outfield pipe. So we're going to turn this over to Mazer. I think it may be best for us to sort of step down and take a look at their presentation.
So everyone, this is Paul Calabrese. He is our borough engineer and the one who we asked several weeks ago to start articulating the design solutions for an enhanced drainage system at Lake Como. He's going to walk you through a lot of the kind of textures of the project and the ideas that we've ended up now.
What are you doing? This is the Lake Como drainage area. The area in blue is the area where any drop of water that would fall within that area in blue will land in Lake Como. It's a very large area, as you can see. It's 1,100 acres. This drainage area encompasses 4 different municipalities. Borough of Belmar has Belmar, Lake Como, Wall, Spring Lake Heights, and Spring Lake. And you can see the different sizes of areas from each of these municipalities that dumps into the lake. The reason for this information is just to show just how far away water that lands would land into the lake. Development over the years has the water get to the lake faster. You know, grass, woods, slows down the path of the water to the lake. When you have pavement, roofs, the water doesn't have a chance to slow down. So during the large rain events, the rain gets to the lake much faster. What this is just showing is just to get a frame of reference is the water levels. For a 1-year storm, over here's a 1-year storm, it's 2.9 inches in this area. And you can see, you can read the numbers up there, but you can go up to a 25-year storm, which is 6.5 inches, all the way up to a 100-year storm, which is 8.9 inches of rain. So that would be 8.9 inches of rain over that whole 1,100 acres. That is a lot of water that comes to the lake in a very short period of time. This is all within a 24-hour period. Just to also give you a frame of reference of major storm events that recently happened. You had Hurricane Irene, which dumped 5.19 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. So Hurricane Irene was just a 10-year storm. The Hurricane Sandy was very limited rain. The issue wasn't from rain. Obviously, the issue was the surge, the storm surge coming up and over Ocean Avenue. And then we just recently had a storm, and just again to give a frame of reference, is we received 5.4 inches, but that was in 48 hours, not within 24 hours. So that in and of itself would have only been a 10-year storm. What this shows is just trying to, again, going back to that last slide to get a handle, is what happens with the existing outlet structure. The existing outlet structure is effectively a 30-inch pipe. It's a 30-inch pipe that runs flat to the ocean and then goes down at an angle with a 24-inch pipe. That pipe, when you had a 10-year storm that we spoke of, there will be flooding in the road from a 10-year storm with that existing pipe. All right, and what this chart is showing is the yellow shows flooding, roadway flooding, which is elevation 5. That's the yellow. With these different sized pipes, that's what would happen in the roadway. The red, or I guess purplish color, shows what would happen to the property. That's the property's flooding. So during a 10-year event or a 25-year event, you will have property flooding, which is what we've seen. So how do we address that? And obviously, how do we address that economically? Is we need to look at it. And we look at different sizes that make sense. A 60-inch pipe during a 25-year storm would prevent private flooding. So that's something to look at. And then you also have large box culverts. What a box culvert is simply it's a rectangular pipe. It's a large rectangular pipe, and as you see the size of these pipes are shown, a 12-foot by 4-foot pipe, you're talking the height of that comes to the width. It's a very large pipe. Okay? So going back to existing conditions, which we already hit, we have effectively a 30-inch pipe. The roads will flood during a 10-year storm, and the private properties will flood during the 25-year storm.
With what we have now.
With what we have now, operating perfectly. So proposed options that we've come up with, again, looking at things like flood prevention, economics, things that can work. We came up with constructing, one option was to construct an outfall out into the water, far out, similar to what you have now, but a much larger pipe. Again, the pipe that was preliminarily selected was a 60-inch pipe. One of the main reasons for that is that's the largest size that ductile iron pipe can be bought in. Other than that, we have to go to more of an exotic type pipe, similar to what they did at Red Pond. And that would alleviate private property flooding during a 25-year event. Another option that we looked at was going even larger with a large box culvert, a 12-foot by 4-foot box culvert, which would alleviate the actual roadway flooding. So there would be no roadway flooding or property flooding during a 25-year storm. And that box culvert would discharge actually on the beach. It would not be extended into the water. So this shows option 1, the pipe. Right now the pipe is shown extending into the ocean. There's a few reasons to extend it into the ocean. One is we can put it under the surf. That will protect it from corrosion. It will also protect it from wave action. And thirdly is it will increase the water quality, or not increase the water quality, but will not make the water quality worse for the beachgoers.
Well, what is included in this design in terms of gate valves and
It
ability
would
to
be
control the ocean?
Sure, it would be very similar to the Silver Lake side, where there would be we would use, this pipe could be used as a lake control level, so we would have a weir on the lake side to allow lowering of the lake and setting the elevation of the lake. We would have a gate valve installation, which would be almost like a fail-safe that will shut the system down if the bigger concern is the surge coming as opposed to rain. And then the third item would be a flat valve. Essentially what that is a check valve that allows the water from the lake to leave, but not let the water from the ocean come in. Because the lake elevation is quite low. The outlet structure is above the high water line. However, during a storm event, it will be higher than the high water, and that will come into the lake without that check. So we came up with some pros and cons of the first option. And as we discussed, we're going to alleviate the private property flooding during the 25-year storm. The underwater outfield will minimize corrosion. The only, on aesthetics, the only items you would see would be a relief structure and marker at the end of the pipe. The marker is just, so boats don't hit it. I mean, that's really the purpose of the marker. It'll be like a beacon. And the relief structure would be something we would recommend putting in case the pipe gets clogged, because inspecting this pipe is difficult. It's underwater. So this relief structure would be utilized in the event of the pipe collapsing, the pipe being clogged, something happening at the end of the pipe, you wouldn't know. And compared to the next one that we will discuss, there will be less of an impact on water quality at the beach, because as the water would be sent off a couple hundred feet off of the shoreline, would be where the discharge point would be. Obviously, your negatives would be there would still be flooding in the road during the 25-year storm. The inspection of the pipe, which would be recommended, would require divers. It's not easily inspected. It would be costly. The flow rates of the pipe are impacted by the tide. As we said, the outflow is underwater. So during high tide, water can't leave unless that water is in the lake higher than high tide. So during the tides swings, there is an issue with getting the water out. Permitting for this is challenging. Army Corps permits required, DEP permits, dam safety permits. There's a lot of challenges to permitting of this outflow, as a new outflow into the ocean. The other item we looked at was creating of a box culvert. This is a large, like I said, rectangular culvert pipe that would go under Ocean Avenue as well and discharge at the low tide line in the water on the beach. As you can see, we would need to install jetty stones at the end. Those jetty stones would extend, I'm not sure how far, but probably about 100 feet to stop the erosion, the scour, because the water's going to be coming out of there at such a rate that the sand would just get washed out, similar as when if anybody went down by Lake Como when they used the pump lines. It would be a very similar situation that would happen from this. On this one, you have it has a much greater capacity and flood control than a 60-inch outfall. The outfall would be much easier to maintain and inspect because you see it. The outfall is visual. And the construction of the outfall, it would be faster. It would be more intrusive. The road would be ripped up more, but it would go in a lot quicker than the outfall into the ocean. The cons, the permitting process will be quite challenging, and until we meet with DEP in some sort of pre-application, we are not entirely sure that this would be permittable. They may have an issue with the rock, the jetty on the beach for safety. They will or probably may have an issue with the water quality. There will be a water quality impact at the beach because you're bringing in the fresh water that could have some water quality issues right up where you are having beach goers. The corrosion will be exacerbated by the tide range. Concrete will corrode the salt water, and just the water coming up and coming down will corrode it. Similar again, if you go over to the marina or McCleary Park, you'll notice that the concrete on the bulkhead, the area in the tide range seems to be in the worst shape. That the tide range gets the most beating. Flow rates, again, also are impacted by the tide, because tide will be over the end of the pipe. The outfall will be visible. You will see this outfall on the beach. It will be very visible, and all the jetty stones. And again, the underwater jetty stone scour protection will negatively impact beachgoers, and it is, as we brought up, not preferred by the permitting agencies. And again, until we go through that whole process, if this is the preferred option, that there is that concern.
Well, it's not typically preferred because they would prefer us to go deeper into the ocean.
They would prefer you not to have a scour pad. They would prefer you to have it offshore underwater, so there is no scour. And they would also prefer it for water quality. As you'll see, most outfalls, including Wreck Pond, that just got built, that was discharged because off about 250 feet into the water because of that reason.
And Paul, both of these would be in addition to the existing pipe that's already there.
That is correct, yes. In fact, for the box culvert one, the thought is that would only be utilized in the event that the existing pipe is overcome.
What elevation is the box culvert placed at in the lake intake?
We would have that at -2. But we would have the, like, and as we said, we would have a weir as well to allow emptying the lake faster in front of a storm. But we would set the normal elevation of it slightly higher than the current spring lake outfall. So it would only kick in when spring lake's outfall we can keep up, unless you want to lower the lake faster.
I was gonna say, would it help us to lower the lake
Yes,
faster?
we would set it up to allow it to lower, the weir would be set to be able to drop to allow the lake to be lowered much faster. As with the 60.
All right, and you guys can look at, go out and first look at the possibility of both these on the permitting side.
That would be the
And
first.
also come back to council later with some numbers to see what each one would cost. And we're talking, these are big projects, you're talking in the millions of dollars.
That's correct.
But you can come back to us at our next council meeting and come back at least with estimates. I mean, obviously
Sure.
nothing hard, but some estimates as to what something like this would look like.
Yes, we can do that for the next meeting.
Paul, is there any way to capture this water before it gets into Lake Como, you know, when it's coming from other towns? I know there's that old abandoned junkyard there between 71 and Spring Lake's 3rd Avenue. Is there any way they can?
I mean, there's always the potential, we'd have to look at the grading. There's always the potential to berm around low-lying areas. You know, the whole area is considered the drainage basin. So, you know, once I built that berm, then I am changing the, you know, the floodplain. So that's something we'd have to look at. It would be a big undertaking to look at, and there's always the concern, you know, the sewage treatment plant is right upstream. So utilizing too much land short of that sewage treatment, because the last thing, I think the worst case scenario would be the sewer plant flooding and getting compromised.
Another issue we always talked about was who owns what land. The way you design it, this entire thing would be in Belmar, correct?
Yes.
You don't have to worry about Spring Lake, you don't have to worry about Lake Como.
That's correct. We show the property boundary there, and as you see, that's why we actually put that kink in the line instead of coming straight out, was because the Spring Lake border comes on an angle across the wall, and that's why you see that's the main purpose of that kink, to keep it all on Belmar property.
Sir, since so many options, or since neither of these options really address the title situation, and you emphasize the fact that they're really not going to be able to handle a high tide situation, has there been any consideration about a permanent pump installation?
We have looked at the permanent pump, and let me rephrase it. We still do handle the high tide situation. What you would do is you would operate the lake. Right now, the pipe is a little undersized, and you're compromised. However, with this type of situation, you'd be able to lower that lake at low tide, and you'll have the valves. So low tide, the lake will flow right out, even normal tide. It's when you have high tide is when the water will slow down. And the lake does have storage capacity. The lake can store a lot of water. So as long as you keep that lake low during an event, you can overcome the tide from a rainfall scenario. On the permanent pump side, the size of the pump that you would need would be, from what we've looked at to meet these numbers, would be a 100,000 gallon per minute pump. That is a very large pump. We do not have pricing on it, but I do know that the electric, if we went to an electric pump, the infrastructure is not in place for a pump of that size. The pumps that Smursa had out there, those 4 pumps, is much less than what would be required if you wanted to, you know, hit these numbers that we're trying to hit for the 25-year storm.
Okay, then since you addressed the issue of containment, basically, the capability of the lake to maintain water, why isn't another consideration draining the lake, or I mean,
To dredge lake?
dredging the lake? To
Dredging is always on the table. As you'll notice, though, when they lower the lake, 'cause the lake was very low, there's a bottom. There's a bottom that we can go with the pipe. The pipe is set at -2. So anything below -2, we couldn't get out anyway. So the plan would be to dredge the lake down to about that elevation. And frankly, it's pretty close to that elevation already. There's a lot of high spots. I don't dispute that. But overall, the amount of dredging, you know, we actually looked at those numbers, it would be about 14,000 cubic yards, which isn't that much. So there would be a benefit. I think the benefit to dredging the lake would be more just for, if you have it lower, you have water in the lake. That would be better, more the benefit from the dredging than would be for more storage capacity.
But you could also pump out the lake then in preparation to a large sewer.
That you can, yes. So that would be an option as well to continue the pump.
And we have pumps, again, that's part of what we do now. We have pumps there now.
We
have pumps on call.
established the four lines that now has the capability of pumping water into the ocean. And none of these plans really address using that what's already in place that I can see.
Right. Remember, those pumps are not on our property. We wanted Mazer to come up with something that's completely on Belmar's property, so that if we move forward with it, we knew that we could control the valves, we could control the construction, we could own the solution to it as opposed to having to share it, which, again, we have a good relationship with Spring Lake now. Who knows, future mayors and councils, future DAs, if you call them up, then they're not as worried about the storm as we are. So that's why we're going to come up with something that's completely in Belmar. Yeah, Mark?
And I appreciate. Are we open to public comment?
I know this is kind of awkward because the council's off, but really this is a workshop.
Okay, all right. So to address the solutions that are being proposed here, an assist pump could also be used, especially with the culvert option, where it isn't out of the question, and the four lines could also be employed if necessary. The idea is to get a gravity flow situation and not an electric diesel powered pump, but that will always be available as an extreme option if we need to employ it. So it isn't like that's off the table.
Right. And the setup, the way these pipes are set up, is that the pump can be discharged directly into these pump pipes, which would work. So you can put an even larger pump onto this pipe than you can on those four lines of it.
So both of these options, Paul, are
Allow.
gravity fed but are able to operate as a force pump.
Yes.
Which gets us a greater capacity than the four goosenecks under the road right now.
Yes, and it allows, as this gentleman brought up, the capability of lowering the lake even below the weir elevation if that is so desired after dredging.
In the interim, I mean, all of these plans are going to take a long time to implement, but in the interim, how do we take the human element out of turning on the pumps from Spring Lake? What does it take for the three towns under the Interlake Agreement to come up with an agreement that the pumps can be turned on earlier? In other words, the lake is, let's take for an example the event that transpired just recently. Belmar finally came down to turn on the pumps. But they were turned on almost, after the fact. It was almost a day later. The lake was rising, we all knew it was going to be an event. My question was, Belmar doesn't have any control in getting those pumps turned on without permission from who? It would be Spring Lake, I assume. So what I'm saying is, can't we just have, as some people wrote on the, about a solution, like if you have a pole or something that shows levels, it's all a 4-day event. Why can't those pumps be turned on earlier so the flooding and the lake gets drained out earlier? Well, not a day later.
Right, and we can do that. I'll tell you that unless you have something like this, or one of these two options, you cannot remove the human element. You cannot. Like in Silver Lake. In Silver Lake, there is no human element. The water comes up, it goes in the pipes, it runs down. Both of these options are what you're looking for. In the interim, we have to work with Spring Lake. It's their property. I'll be blatantly honest with you. You can't remove the human element. We can, again, we work together. If we put a stick out there and we say it's above it, and they say, I'm not on the job right now, but I'll tell you that and Mike Campbell has a great working relationship with their Department of Public Works. Colleen has a great working relationship with their business administrator. So even outside the mayor and council, the professionals work well together. So I understand your concern. I would tell you this solves your concern. But in the interim, it's about us working together. It's worked well so far. But again, we're going to get to the point where we can remove the human element. But right now, in the interim, we cannot.
I just have a comment that I'd like to make. Can I?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, the fact that you folks are addressing this, thinking about it, this has been over 20 years in the making. So it's very much appreciated by the people on the south end of town that the council is putting this under consideration and studying it. And I think it's going to alleviate a future problem that hopefully we won't see again that we've been seeing over the past 20 years. For people who know, I sit on the zoning board, and the zoning board of Belmar and all of the surrounding towns that drain into this lake continue to approve variances that exceed the impervious lot coverage of, the impervious lot coverage just basically gets automatically approved. So the idea of having non-impervious lot coverage is to allow water to drain into the sand and drain naturally, but we don't have that any longer. So when it goes to the gutter, it goes to the lake in that zone right there. And all of these towns contribute, and all of the zoning boards are approving the impervious lot coverage, especially when Lake Como, Wall Township, Spring Lake, and Spring Lake Heights don't need to care about it. So people need to understand the importance of the impervious lot coverage rules and why they're there. Next, this represents, especially on the south end of Belmar, hundreds of millions of dollars of property value. So when we talk about the cost of this project, we have to put it in context into the property value which is at risk, which literally is well in excess of hundreds of millions of dollars, not to mention the ratables and our own property values, and in addition to the flood insurance that will be created. Another factor to consider is when the roads flood at our end of town, they become impassable. When they're impassable, emergency vehicles can't get in and out safely. So if someone's having a heart attack or medical emergency, the town has an obligation of making sure that they can get to your house and get your father or grandfather or yourself out and get to the hospital quickly. So the town has a responsibility of ensuring that emergency vehicles can get to and back from your house. And I can tell you there's been plenty of times where that's not been the case on Surf Avenue. And then the ecology of the lake keeps coming up, but people need to understand the ecology of the lake will not be able to get managed until the lake stormwaters could get managed. So the ecology is important, but that has to take a back seat to managing the lake level and doing a project such as this. And then last, just the cost is going to be minimal compared to the risk that we're experiencing down at that end of town. So I don't know, 2, 3 million, whatever it turns out to be, it's a cost that we're going to have to incur to make and keep the south end of Belmar habitable. So I want to express the appreciation, but I also want to put it in context as to the why this is important. It's not just about, I don't want my street to flood. There's a lot more factors going on here, and hopefully, our homes are going to go to our children and their children at some point, and that won't be the case unless this lake gets addressed at some point, and hopefully in the near future.
Mr. Pyro?
Hi. I'd like to thank Mike Campbell and our good friend who's reporting, Randy Hines. The last storm event on Pete Pyro and on North Boulevard, they hooked up to that one of the 4 18-inch pipes that Spring Lake owns in 2.5 hours. They were there from like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they connected the pipe, connected the pump to the pipe in 2.5 hours, which was admirable since they didn't know where the pipe was in the beginning. There are 2 telephone poles there out on the beach, but there was no marker saying it's within 4 or 5 feet of which it was. But the DPW of Belmar deserves accolades for ameliorating what could have been a very bad situation. Going to the issues of the relative costs, the 60-inch pipe versus the culvert, which is the less expensive situation?
I'm not sure we haven't run through the numbers yet. We're just getting some thoughts and ideas.
I'm sorry, but before you continue, part of the reason why we don't have the project estimates that we'd like to have at this point is because we're waiting to hear back from DEP about how long these structures need to be, how far they need to go. So the range right now, if we were to provide you with numbers, would be huge because we don't have a determination yet from DEP how far in the ocean we need to go. So that's part of why when we come back in September, we should have a better idea. But I think on cost per footage,
Paul could probably talk. Putting it out, box culvert is more expensive per foot on land. However, the outfall into the ocean is a very expensive undertaking. So I think, when all is said and done, they're going to be very comparable in cost, just because of putting that structure. The structure, the pipe out in the ocean, I mean, that's a very heavy pipe, it would have to go on steel piles, it would have a concrete cradle, it would be very expensive marine construction. So they'd be very comparable.
You have to de-water around it?
They don't de-water. What they do is they will sheet around it to protect against the tide, and they will install it in the water.
DEP obviously is, I'm sorry, FEMA is going to be sought, funds would be sought from FEMA for this, as I understand the procedure.
Yeah, for hazard mitigation, you know, in Silver Lake, we didn't receive any monies. It would be doubtful we receive any monies for this. We'll try, but it would be doubtful.
I don't have a.
Didn't Spring Lake receive something like $3 million for their project involving Bright Pond?
I think that was through Fish and Wildlife, if I remember it correctly.
You're right. A portion of it was that, but a portion of it was FEMA as well. They did a bunch of Rob Peter big goals. I had to be at a number of their meetings when we were trying to convince them to put in before 18-inch pipes. And I believe they did get some money. It can't hurt to get some money from FEMA.
Did they rob Peter Pyro to pay Paul Pyro? No?
But just a piece of information.
What I would say is that similar to how we've approached this project so far, I mean, you know, I've put in grant applications for money that I don't have any hope of winning. You know, we applied for McCleary, you know, for a hope in 2016 of getting a buck. We're going to pursue every dollar available to us, whether that's through FEMA or DEP. Coastal Engineering, who is the folks who built the K Street Pier, and they have some funds to do shore protection. That's where the Army Corps of Engineers delivered us our beautiful orange sand through. That was sarcasm. They're a partner in this as well. So again, any ounce of funding we can get, we're going to go at.
Since you mentioned that, I apologize. You told me off the record that the Belmar is trying to skim off as many of those rocks as they can.
Yes, we are. And if it's not immediately apparent to folks, Peter did bring it up to me last week. We are fully aware of the quality of our sand from the south up to 9th Avenue. Public Works, under the direction of Mike Campbell, they rake the beach every day starting at 4 a.m. To date, we have taken off, it's about 120 cubic yards of rock. This has just been an awesome process that we weren't anticipating. Mike updates me weekly with how much rock is taken off that beach, and I send those photos immediately to the Army Corps. You know, we're doing our best to try to make that beach a little bit more what you're used to. The color should even out. The more the sun hits it and bleaches it. Our immediate concern was the rock. We didn't want people laying down their beach towels and laying on those pebbles. So we're doing our best. If you could try to be patient and stick with us, it will get better.
And let me just wrap up this one portion as we move on. But the other thing, and I would encourage people to go stand on 20th and Surf and just look around at all the new construction. I mean, people are making tremendous investments in their property that was destroyed by Sandy. So I think it's incumbent on us, on the council, as Mark said, to ensure that, you know, these folks want to stay. They're making Belmar better. They don't, you know, in other towns, people want to buy out and they want to leave. We're lucky, not in our town. And you're going to see more construction going on in that area as well. There's probably more construction going on in that area than maybe in any other neighborhood in town. And they're doing a phenomenal job of it. I mean, you got to, honestly, don't take my word for it. Go down there and take a look. I mean, the houses are tremendous that they're putting up. So, you know, there is going to be a cost to this. But, you know, if we do nothing, you know, it's not going to solve itself. I think we need to be committed as a governing body to do something for those folks. And again, go take a look. The amount of private investment in that area is phenomenal. Yes, Steve?
Yeah, just a comment or two. Thanks for recognizing the private investment. A lot of it's kind of sitting here around us worried about their homes, so we're with you on that. Just a comment and then just a compare and contrast. The comment is, I don't know if you can investigate that outflow pipe being even further out. When we did dredge the lake, so this comes over the damned if you do, damned if you don't, the water on the beaches in 20th and 19th was awful for like a week, week and a half. So the farther we can put out a pipe within regulations, we'd ask that you kind of take a look at that. The compare and contrast is, and maybe it's an apple and an orange, but I look at McCleary Park, that clearly is out in front of this in terms of approvals and funding, and if I heard right, we would be spending $4.25 million?
No. That, tonight was simply to apply for a grant and a low-interest loan for that. We're not going to hear on that for probably 12 months.
Okay.
And then we start designing.
This is something we hope to have estimates back the beginning of next month.
Okay.
And then talk to DEP, Army Corps of Engineers, and go through the permitting process and pick, which of these two, are really going to solve or are going to improve, better mitigate against future hazards. But now I would say this will get done before McCleary Park.
Okay. But even if we get that grant, if I heard it correctly, that would still cost Belmar about $4.75 million.
There's a 75% alone.
Right, 75% of it's a loan, call it a bond, whatever you want to call it, it's a loan, right? But 25% is a grant. So I'd compare and contrast $4.75 million for that versus whatever it costs to protect people's homes and make that part of town a working proposition. I just don't think they compare if you have to weigh those considerations in the future.
But I totally understand what you're saying. I would tell you they're two completely different projects. I mean, this one we're going to do. We're going to do one of them. We're going to do something. This one, we may get denied for everything.
So this one, so we're going to do something here on our property for Belmar.
Correct.
Okay.
Will we be making the decision tonight which option we're going to go with?
No. We're going to get cost estimates back. We're going to go talk to DEP. What we'll have for our next council meeting is the cost estimates, and then from then we can see which one we're going to go with. I mean, I kind of like that big bulk cover. I kind of like that thing, but we'll see what it comes back with. I mean, that we already have one pipe going out. We already have the pipes underground. If on our side we have that monster 4-foot by 12-foot thing, that seems to make, to me anyway, more sense than putting a pipe out that once it gets clogged, you got to send.
But the exact location of that, we'd have to see that. I mean, that literally could be, to sound goofy, where we sit on that beach. That's going to be at the low tide mark. That's going to be really bad. I have to tell you, I disagree with that solution. Let's see what they come back with.
Before we do anything, we'll consult with the folks, particularly folks who live on Ocean Avenue, that this is going to be.
I mean, that's where Victor Massey sits.
And I'm next to him.
Well, then we're going to put it right there. Come on.
You're next to him.
Quick question. The way that pipe looks like it's designed right there, I just can't tell. Where is the corner, say, of our property, like Northern Boulevard, where, say, that corner house is where Mr. Murphy's house is?
Murphy's right here.
Okay, so let me ask something. So why can we come with that pipe to do it this way as far south as possible? Because, the beauty of the 20th Avenue Beach is we kayak, we stand up paddleboard, you put the pylons going out there, it's sort of,
I understand, but see the dotted line here?
Right?
That's straight lane.
Okay, so can we come as close to that line as
So Matt, hold on, let me ask you a different question. Get an easement from Spring Lake and go straight out, because that is a wasteland of beach to the south. So once it's there, it's going to continue. We're not going to need their permission. You get the permission once you have it, you have it forever. Once it's in. So if that pipe came straight out, A, it might reduce the cost, and B, it's going to retain our usable beach because that beach a little bit south is really not usable.
It's not used at all.
So if it's possible to consider an easement from Spring Lake under this cooperative situation that we're in right now.
Hold on a second, folks.
And it gets approved, an easement gets approved, and I can't imagine Spring Lake would argue, because you're not asking them for any money. That would be a better opportunity to take now rather than head north with that pipe. But that should be on the next plan.
Sure, and we can do that. Remember, for tonight, what we want to make sure to come up with something that stays completely in Belmar that we can completely control. So
I appreciate that.
We can take a look at doing it straight, right? So You got Victor Bossi's right up here, nude sunbathing, and I understand he doesn't want to be distracted. So to have it go straight out, we can certainly do that.
Or redraw that property line. I mean, no, I'm serious. No, if they could just, that property line went straight, it wouldn't be an issue. Even if it's on an angle.
I think the easement's the way to go. But again, for tonight, we just wanted to present options that took the human element out and were substantial. A 60-inch pipe is enormous. A 4-foot by 12-foot culvert is, and that's solid. That's not
5 foot.
And 5 foot?
It's 4.
Well, 60 inches is. No. Well, one is the pipe is 60 inches. The culvert is 4 feet by 12 feet. There's going to be a quiz at the end of this, people. So.
It's great.
All right. So again, come back. When's our next meeting, September?
September 2nd.
Is that right?
That's a school night.
Over. Maybe we'll delay a council meeting until the following meeting. Maybe we'll do it on the 9th.
Thank you for your commitment to this issue. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So again, we'll probably change the council meeting from the 2nd to the 9th. Everyone is able to get the notification from Colleen for tonight. Obviously, that's why everybody's easy enough. All right.
Yes, thank you.
So we'll do that again. And the other thing, talking with folks in that area, if there is a heavy rain between now and then, we'll also keep you up to date on what we're doing. I'll tell you, we usually, I mean, if you know Mike Campbell, he just runs like a clock. I mean, it just happens. But we understand that some people have a certain level of stress when they see, torrential downpours coming. So we'll do a better job of keeping you up to date as to simply what we're doing, not asking for help. We're not asking for, we don't want to scare people into evacuating if you don't have to, but just to let people know where we are in the process and what we're doing. Okay? So that's going to complete it for Lake Como. In case anyone wants I'll take a 2-minute break. He's got my back.
Must be underneath the air conditioning.
Definitely gonna get to see that.
Resume our public meeting with Councilor Dunn again.
I'm here. They're here.
They're back.
We're down,
Yes, everything is okay down.
Thanks for our water rescue.
Thanks for our water. Can I have the members of our water rescue team that are with us today come on up forward? They're not very shy. Let's hear it for our water rescue team first. So, before we gave the proclamation to Craig, and he had to leave, but I wanted to read it again for the water rescue team. So, it's going to be the same thing I said before. But I think it truly is respectful for them, and they do a phenomenal job. So here we go. Honoring the Belmar Water Rescue Team, Belmar First Aid, and Police Departments for extraordinary performance in a water rescue on July 4th, 2014. Whereas the Borough of Belmar is a top tourist destination at the Jersey Shore and attracts thousands of people to its beaches during the summer season, particularly during holiday weekends. And whereas the Belmar Water Rescue Team was created to respond to water-related emergencies in the borough and to keep visitors and residents safe while enjoying the local waters. And whereas the Belmar Water Rescue Team joined forces with the Belmar First Aid Squad to create a more effective rescue unit. Whereas the Belmar Water Rescue Team, along with Belmar First Aid and Police Department, recognized the unique danger of an approaching hurricane on July 4th and took actions to proactively patrol the beachfront after lifeguards had left for the evening. And whereas in the early evening of July 4th, Hurricane Arthur passed off the coast of Belmar and created extremely large surf and dangerous rip currents. Whereas, due to their presence on the beachfront, members of both squads, along with the Belmar Police Department, were immediately able to respond to a 911 call for a swimmer in distress and take swift action to rescue that swimmer. Whereas, rescue swimmers Christian Jessup and Brian Allen entered the water and fought through large surf and strong currents to assist the victims at personal risk to themselves. And whereas, the local resident and business owner Craig Brothers assisted in the rescue with his jet ski with no obligation to do so and with great personal risk to himself. And whereas the Belmar First Aid Squad responded quickly in treating the swimmer as soon as she was rescued from the water. And whereas the combined action of the Belmar Water Rescue Team, Belmar First Aid Squad, and Belmar Police Department, as well as the actions of the individual rescuer, saved the life of this swimmer, allowing her to return safely home to her family. And now, therefore, be resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar hereby recognize and honor the Belmar Water Rescue Team, the Belmar First Aid Squad, Belmar Police Department, and rescuers Christian Jessup, Brian Allen, and Craig Brothers for their heroic actions that resulted in saving the life of a swimmer on July 4th, 2014. Let's hear it. So we have certificates of valor, I think for Craig, for both Christian and for Brian, and also we have unit citations for all of them as well. That's going to get put into their files as well. So, who would like to say a few words on behalf of the water rescue? You're elected.
My name is Ian Schultz. I'm a longtime member of the Belmar Water Rescue Team. I'm also a lieutenant. Our Captain Brian Wilton isn't here, or our other lieutenant is not here at present. I'd just like to say that we're humbled. This is what we've been doing for more than 18 years now, and it works. The system works. This team was created specifically for this reason. If there was nobody else to respond, we would respond. And we've ended up responding to calls throughout the borough, in the lakes, in the rivers, in the ocean, 24/7, 365, basically. So I'm real proud of what we're able to do, and now we have a new kind of family with the Belmar First Aid, and it's working out good. We just had a rescue tonight, and everything worked out just fine. We all have to run out of here.
Remember, folks, this is all volunteers, so let's hear it for one more time. All right, hold on. Just, all right, Councilman, you want to add anything to the?
Right, yeah, I'll be brief because we're already an hour and a half in here. 40-7.32, the outdoor dining area, outdoor eating area, and sidewalk cafe area. We had a big, if you will, a big incident with the planning board and with the outdoor dining being in the back instead of the front. And I would like to just make a recommendation to change our definition. If you don't pass that down, I underline what I suggested. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but something close. I'd like to put in there that no outside dining or eating area may have but a residential zone, just to try to give some. We have one that is in there now, but going forward, maybe we should address this and make sure it doesn't happen again. Have all the lawsuits that were flying and everything, and just want to get everybody's thoughts on it.
My thoughts, I totally agree. Totally agree. Because there are other locations in town on Main Street and on Ocean Avenue where someone can come in, they have a restaurant, and extend out to the back. There's any number of places, and if someone has a parking lot right now, you can say, hey, I don't need to put cars on my parking lot. I can make them park on the street and then put tables or something out there on my parking lot and get it. So I totally agree with the outside dining area not abutting the residential zone, because when I was on the planning board and we passed this, it was my intention that in the commercial zone it was going to be on Main Street and not in someone's backyard. If I lived in those residential areas, and my brother lives right over here, and easily, let's just say, quote, the Acropolis wants to go and put a outdoor dining in the back. He's going to be affected by that, and that's not the only place in town where that could happen. On Ocean Avenue, it could happen. From the bridge all the way down to 16th Avenue. So I will be very much for this. Yes.
I'll take a look at it. I'm going to think about it. I'll take a look at if it's just in the back area or is it on the side.
Sure.
We can have Mike talk.
Word it the way we want. Just what I believed we were voting on was for the front, and I never pictured it going to the back, and was trying to squash it before it gets any bigger.
Right. No one has permission yet to eat in the back. So if we do this now, then we don't have to make an exception. I think the planning board meets. Was it next Monday, April? The 18th. The 18th. Yeah. I think anywhere. In a commercial property where they have outside dining, and if it abuts a residential zone, backyard, side yard, it shouldn't happen. I wouldn't want my neighbors having a barbecue out in their backyard every single night. It's just my opinion.
All right, we'll have our attorney do that. All right,
thank you.
That's it for workshop discussion. Any petitions? Next are reports of the council. Council President McGovern.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that each year we anticipate a certain amount of revenue coming from our beach badges.
For the summer of 2014, we anticipated selling $1,975,000 worth of beach badges. We passed that on July 27th. We had sold $2,188,666 worth of beach badges. And as of Sunday, this past week, we are now up to $2,271,882. So we're having a very, very good summer. It's been slower lately with the rain out this past Saturday and Sunday. But this August is the first August in the last 800 years that has had 5 Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in it. Little fact of not important to anybody else, but I figured I'd throw that out there too. Another thing that I want to report on is that it's come to my attention on the Shade Tree Commission that a lot of our street trees, trees that are between your sidewalk and the street, have not made it through the second growing season. And we kind of thought that was going to happen because the storm of October 29th happened when a lot of trees were already dormant. So they are able to leaf out the spring of 2013. But they are actually killed by the storm with all the salt water. And we're seeing that now. So what the Shade Tree has done is we've contacted a certified tree expert, and I'm going to go around with him and other members of the Shade Tree Commission this Tuesday and inspect some of these trees, because if you look up to them, a lot of the sycamores, I think they're dangerous because with the dead limbs and everything like that, in a storm they could fall down and injure somebody. Here's the problem though, a lot of residents call me up, our street tree is dangerous, can you take it down? We can tell you that it's dangerous, hazardous, and you can take it down, but it's at the homeowner's expense. The town doesn't take these trees down. So if they're healthy, our tree expert said, no, this tree is healthy, and no, you can't take it down. We can't take down a tree just because it's ugly, or you don't like it, or it's blocking your view. If the tree is alive and it's healthy, the tree stays. But if it's hazardous, we can inform you about it, and then if you don't take it down, then if something does happen, insurance-wise, you're liable. Silver Lake, boy, the plantings have really come along. The wildlife around there, the number of goldfinches, I've never seen so many goldfinches in my life around Silver Lake, with all the sunflower that are in bloom and everything like that, the rabbits and the grasses. So it's really doing well. There's only one thing that's unnatural about Silver Lake, and I've got to get a time limit. What's this contemporary art exhibit? When is it over? It's been there since Memorial Day. We were told, I was told, that it would happen sometime in August. Please, don't tell me it's going to go through September. It's going to be out of there by Labor Day, maybe.
It won't be September, it'll be December.
No. Okay. I tell you, just this past week, I saw 4 high school kids looking like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn going down on a raft with one of those contemporary figures to B Street. You know, they have broken loose several times. They're all over the lake. There's 7 figures out there, only 5 signs. So, you know, who's ever putting on this exhibit has got to get it together because they've been there since Memorial Day.
May I speak?
Sure.
Come out back. Just kidding. I think they're great. I think they bring attention to the lake. I think anything new and different is nice in that area. They were the original 7 that were placed there to bring attention, but also to create sponsorships, which we've gotten. They're building a total of 40 docks, and the size that are out there now, and they're going to be 40 separate sculptures on the lake. It's called Sculptures on the Water. It's never been done anywhere. So
I can understand why.
Brian can come live in my house for a few months. No, I understand everybody has an opinion. I personally do like them. I think it's creative. I think it's beautiful. I think it's different. Sculptures from around the world are coming with our pieces there.
Is there a specific date of the exhibit?
I do not know a specific end date, Councilman. I can assure you it is temporary.
It is definitely temporary.
This is not a permanent installation.
It's gone by 2016.
It's ending in October.
contract's over right now.
Mark, would you people want this on Lake Como? Okay, the Belmar Historical Society, they have a display out here in the lobby. This September marks the 100th anniversary of the Belmar Women's Club. And interesting enough, they have the minutes from their very first meeting. And no, Claire, Matt said you were there. You weren't. I know you weren't there.
Sarah's beer.
So, you know, these displays that are out in the foyer by the Historical Society, very, very interesting. Just, you know, stop and take a look at it when you come into the borough, or, you know, before the meeting or after the meeting. I think you'll really like it. And finally, I'll end up, these proclamations for the water safety rescuers, well deserved. And it always seems like rescues are made after the lifeguards left. I mean, you got to understand, the lifeguards, Belmar lifeguards on the beach, the patrol, they make so many rescues during the day, and I know that's their job. But you can tell people all the time, don't go in the water when there's not lifeguards.
Right,
Especially when you don't know how to swim.
How many a year you think, just lifeguards, just during normal hours, how many rescues do you think you use?
Well, obviously it affects by the water conditions. There were a lot today. There will be a lot of rescues tomorrow because the storm is off. There's going to be some rip currents and everything. Lifeguards refer to them as runs, not rip currents. There'll be a lot of runs, and to be honest, the lifeguards love making rescues. I mean, they look forward. They talk about, okay, we're going to get those people in about 30 seconds. All right, make sure you do it, you know, and it's all choreographed. I shouldn't always, but when I was on it, we choreographed so it could look good. But you know, I would even nowadays I wouldn't go in the water without a lifeguard around. But why people who don't know how to swim? The ocean is not your friend, but it's not your enemy either. If you don't know how to swim, you're in trouble. If you do know how to swim, you know, you could have a good time out there.
Well, I thought Brian was going to say it's somewhere between 250 to 300 saves a summer that no one ever hears. They just happen. They're just what they do. They're phenomenal at what they do.
Well, they're only the saves that they write down. There's a lot more saves that we would make a lot of saves that we wouldn't even write on the card and hand into Howard.
I thought you said you wrote every save down to make it as dramatic as possible.
No, only the good saves. And we never wrote down the bad saves. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we see any art missing, I would suggest 207 South Lake Drive.
Let's get those high school kids back.
I'm going to do a sculpture of Brian.
Councilwoman Keelan Black.
I also was going to mention the Belmar Women's Club display that's in the foyer. Please stop and look at it. He mentioned that the first minutes were there. Why take minutes for the organization now? So hopefully they're not there in 100 years. We had a wonderful walk with the mayor on the 10th of July. We walked the boardwalk. It was a beautiful evening. We've had between 30 and 35 people show up. We all got a little bit of exercise, and people had a chance to yell at Matt for anything they wanted to. Choose Your Cover was the 19th of July on the beach under the tent. We had 140 people that were checked for skin cancer. 34 of them were referred. We had 9 basal cell carcinomas that were possibly diagnosed, and 4 squamous cell carcinomas. So this was a great event because people did not know that they were possibly had a problem, and hopefully they're going and seeing someone and having it all taken care of. A lot of literature was given out to everyone also, so hopefully people learned a little bit about skin cancer. For that day, I want to certainly thank the DPW. John and George were there along with 4 boys in the morning that work on the beach and 4 in the afternoon to set up in the morning, break down in the afternoon. They were all fantastic. I need to thank the police department for their help, and absolutely DJs. They sent lunch for the volunteers, for the doctors and nurses who were there from from about 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. So thank you to DJs and the DPW and the police. Senior luncheon is coming up on the 20th of August here in this building. And on the 28th of September, a health fair, and it'll be in the gym. The Belmar Women's Club will also be holding a blood drive that day. The trucks should be right out front on Main Street. So that's everything, except I would also like to congratulate every member of the water rescue team for the save both on the 4th and tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Bean?
Thank you, Mayor. We recently received a $10 million, $500,000 check from FEMA. I don't want to take away, the mayor's going to talk about that. I don't want to take away his
you can talk about it.
Well, I just have some questions on it. I like to track the FEMA money and you know, our debt and everything, our numbers guide. I just want to make sure where we are. You know what project worksheet, Colleen, or I don't care, Mayor, which one?
Colleen knows this stuff.
That 10 million?
That was on our boardwalk project.
Just the boardwalk itself? Nothing else? That's going to be one project worksheet, just the boardwalk?
That was a request for reimbursement that we applied against the boardwalk PW. That came in, that bond is incurred on the beach utility.
Okay, but the boardwalk costs $10,700,000. This is for $10,500,000. I don't think that's a little bit higher than 90%. Is it possible that there's two project worksheets in there?
I don't.
Yeah, no.
It could be. I'll have to check.
No, there was
8.6 on the boardwalk, and then the other one was for debris.
900 or a million on that, and then the other was on category A.
Oh, real quick, so there's three project worksheets on that?
I can check and get back to you. I believe the bulk of the payment, which was in the 8.6 ballpark, was boardwalk. There was an additional payment on category A for debris, and then I can check to see if there's a third as well.
Category A, debris removal. Okay. What I did was I went to the FEMA website and I looked up our awards and everything. And I'm just trying to get all the numbers straight here. So for the boardwalk, you said 8.1?
I'd have to look at my notes. I think it was 8. It's in the 8.6 range.
Because I have 9.2 here.
Well, we're still chasing.
It's a payment. It's not. They don't pay the full PW at one time.
Yeah. For good or for bad, they pay over.
You apply for reimbursements as you upload documentation supporting.
Right. Because remember, there's the money comes from FEMA, it goes to the state of New Jersey, then we upload information to their website, the state of New Jersey Office of Emergency Management. Then they draw down from that and deposit directly into our account.
Okay, because it has right here, because I checked these numbers, it's 9.24 is what FEMA gave to the state for approval. When you were Belmar Recovery, just a fact sheet, you're saying that we we're going to get $9,600,000. That's a difference of $400,000 from what FEMA actually said we're going to get and what you guys are advertising that we got. Any explanation at all? Maybe show it to you. Sure. It's a project number.
Yeah, sure. The total FEMA reimbursement we're looking at is 9.6.
That's
but it's going to take, it comes in chunks as.
Where'd you get that number, Mayor? Just curiosity.
I'm just reading what you gave me.
Yes, you printed that. That's yours.
Yeah, this is about a year old. I mean, I'd have to look up where I got the numbers from. I don't know off the top of my head.
I have our obligation here that FEMA is going to give to us. It's 9.2. So you're saying that that's incorrect. That's not longer correct anymore.
No, I don't know. I have to think about it.
I have here. You know what? Actually, I got the sheets here for you. Here, there's a method to my madness here. So bear with me here. There you go. It's FEMA. And here, I broke out the pavilions as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. This is off the state.nj.us website. I broke out the pavilions. You know what? I got a whole bunch here. They're different. Just take one pass it back. So both of the now, if the numbers are that off on the boardwalk, I decided to dig in a little bit more into the pavilions and the obligation that they're telling us is significantly less, about 800,000 less, than what is being advertised in your mailers. And I just looking for an explanation. Any idea where we got those other numbers?
You want to explain where we got the,
I'd have to again look back at what numbers were cited. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I have it right here. And you know, the project numbers match up with, I give all my way, with their Excel sheet, but they're considerably lower. There's, you know, I got all the project worksheet numbers to match up, but they're not even close. Here. See, that's what the index come up with, 367. And this is what their obligation is to us. I'm just trying to figure out, we have a very big vote coming up here in 2 weeks, and if the numbers for what we're expecting to get from FEMA are not correct,
I'd be happy to state again, as I have on numerous occasions in the past, that this process with FEMA is not black and white, it's not clear cut. They write project worksheets, we work with them to post amendments and changes, as we saw with our debris package, as we saw with emergency protection measures. We have a very tight accounting for all of our storm-related expenses. We work with FEMA constantly to have amendments and changes made. So without, again, I have to pull what was made maybe pre or post project worksheet obligation. It's not as simple as
if you go on their website, it's on the link. I mean, it's right there on the FEMA, on the state FEMA website.
I certainly understand what you're saying, but
Well,
that is not necessarily the full project worksheet.
It is. I double checked with the Smith's office, and they confirmed the numbers. Like, I checked 2 different sources.
No, I don't think you're understanding what I'm trying to say, which
You're
is
saying
that
we're getting-
FEMA writes a project worksheet. That worksheet is then continually updated and amended up until closeout, which can be in 2 years. So as we have canceled check shift, as we close contracts, that project worksheet evolves and grows to include our full project costs.
You're saying all these are incorrect, meaning the website's wrong, the Smith's office is wrong.
I'm going to say that's what FEMA has obligated at this time. It is not necessarily the final amount. We will not know that until closeout.
Yeah, it's going to be the numbers that we've already advertised. And again, it may take 2 years, much like we received $8.6 million for the boardwalk. There's still more money coming on that. It's a fluid process.
You know what? I'm very hard to, when FEMA themselves give an obligation, a 90% obligation to us, and they post an obligation on the website. And they have an obligation date as well, and the date is, goodness, the last one was, I believe, April 3rd, 2014. You know, I mean, and they have every town around us. There's a significant difference, and with this election or this vote coming up, I'm very concerned that, I mean, you guys are publishing this number, but you can't tell me exactly where you're getting it from. The $3,600,000.
Those project worksheets are on the website.
Yeah, I mean, we can show you it again. So we don't have it with us because we didn't know we were going to talk about this tonight, but I'm sure Colleen can send you the same information again if you'd like. I think it would be correct.
Okay, so you're saying that your project worksheets are correct, but the FEMA website in Chris Smith's office is incorrect?
No, what I'm saying is I don't write the project worksheets. FEMA does.
Right.
And we work with them to update for actual costs as we complete the project and move towards closeout. That number is the initial obligation at the time that FEMA wrote the worksheet. As the work continues and the work evolves, part of the success of getting the project worksheet written is that that is FEMA dedicating themselves to that project at 90%. If the actual costs incurred exceed the amount of the initial face value of the project worksheet, there are amendments filed. And thus, making the borough whole for 90%, well, making it whole for 90% of the total project costs. It's not a simple process. To attempt to oversimplify it is to not understand the process.
I had asked.
And also, just so we're clear, Congressman Smith's office, as helpful as they've been in the recovery, that's been great. They don't tell FEMA what money to give or not.
I guess because I asked, are there still amendments coming? Are there still open worksheets? Of course, they said no. This is, and I don't double check. They said no, there's nothing. This is all there is. This is what you're obligated. This is your 90%. And I have a very hard, you guys say, hey, don't worry, Jim. our worksheets are correct, everyone else is wrong. I don't have an answer, you know.
I'm going to tell you this. You can continue talking to FEMA. Knock yourself out.
This is our website. I didn't talk to them,
Well, I thought you said you did, but maybe you didn't. You can knock yourself out. The only real conversation that matters with FEMA is between Colleen and FEMA, because she talks to them on a daily basis. I don't talk to them. Just like the debris removal, the Category A, Category B, just like going through our audit that we had, there's one point of contact. There's multiple points of contact, you're going to get multiple information, and that's fine, and you can take the information and understand it the way you want to. But our business administrator is professional in the borough of Belmar, deals with FEMA. There's 1 point and 1 point only.
So your guys' number are correct, my numbers are wrong.
I'm not going to say anything's correct or not. I'm going to tell you that the numbers that we are putting out are accurate, and that's what you're going to see.
Okay. Hold on. You know what? I think that is all I have. I just, you know what? That's all I have. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Nichols.
I just want to thank Councilwoman Blackburn, sorry, I was going to say Janice, my friend, for Choose Your Cover. I'm one of the people that was told to, and I get checked by a dermatologist every single year, and it was within 9 months of being checked last, and I was told to get something removed that is basal cells. So I want to thank you very much for that, and everybody involved. I know that there were a lot of volunteers that day. The BBP, Belmar Business Partnership. There will be a kite festival September 7th, and it's the first one that we've had in Belmar, I believe. There will be over 50 kites flying that day. We have another cruise night on August 21st. The past 2, 3 were well received. There was also a great press release on our B&Bs in town, and TripAdvisor, I can pull it up. TripAdvisor had done a press release stating that Belmar B&B, Saltwater Inn, the Inn at the Shore, and the Tandem Bike Inn were awarded the 2014 TripAdvisor Certificates of Excellence, and they were voted the top 10% worldwide. So I think that's a huge honor for our B&Bs in town. Belmar Recreation, our basketball registration will be Monday, September 15th, 6 till 7:30 in the rec gym. Boys grades 2nd through 7th and girls 2nd through 8th are $40. Children in kindergarten and 1st grade will be $20. Want to thank the recreation group for having the Belmar night at America. It was a huge turnout. They were able to get a great discount for our residents who was 6 till midnight, right? So thank you very much to Belmar Rec for that. Belmar DPW, of course, busy as ever. They placed a walkway around the Cleary Park, and then they're placing the dive stairs, which we discussed earlier. Construction's also started to repair the fishing pier off of L Street Beach. Within town, they're putting the parking lines in the streets and painting the curbs yellow, and they hope to be finished, Long time. What's that?
Long time.
Oh, okay, so the lines will be close to your home shortly. They spruced up the gazebo and it looks great. We picked up the brush. They put 2 children's playgrounds on the beach, and we're going to have the remaining ones next couple weeks. I don't have ones that are that small children, but they look great, and I see a lot of kids playing on them. They fixed potholes, and they placed the "You Are Here" signs, keeping the bathrooms and beach as clean as possible, and again, doing just their normal daily chores, day to day, hour to hour, 24/7 to keep Belmar beautiful. So, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Only, I guess, 2 things. One, we had an audit by the Office of the Inspector General regarding our debris removal. They had questions, and I explained it to the public that it was sort of one federal agency fighting with another. And in this case, FEMA prevailed. So the end result is $285,000 that was part of that audit is going to get paid. In addition, there are another $53,000 that were transferred from one emergency protective measure project worksheet to another, which is kind of silly, but means that we don't have to pay for it. The remaining amount, about $184,000, is still deemed ineligible, and that's payable to Birdsall Engineering. As you may or may not know, Birdsall Engineering doesn't exist anymore. The company that bought them is Partner Engineering, who, believe it or not, is suing us. So that'll end up getting settled in some type of hopeful settlement from that lawsuit, but it's certainly going to be a lot less than that. But that's good news for us that the audit that seemed to cause some controversy ended up working in our favor at the end of the day, as we had anticipated. Second, and lastly, this Saturday is the Belmar Chase. I am running for Belmar. I am out of shape. So if you guys can help, someone in front of me, just kind of distract them, run in front of them, anything like that. If I beat them, I think we get $2,000 for recreation. If I don't, we get like $50. So 2,000 is better than 50. I don't encourage cheating, but in this case, you know, I need some help. I've been eating too much. That's all for me. So that concludes our reports. Can we have approval of the minutes?
Okay. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on July 1st, 2014 be approved as reported, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second?
Councilwoman Shield Blackburn? Yes. Councilman Gover?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next is our resolution calendar and public session for our resolution calendar. Any comments, questions? Yes, sir. Come on the microphone, state name, address for the record.
Gene Kramer, 4th Avenue, taxpayer. Can you pull the resolution off the consent agenda about the payment date? I'd like to discuss that.
You can discuss it right now. You can give me out the consent agenda. You can discuss it. Payment date.
The payment date, yes. I did receive, this year it's blue.
Oh, your tax bill.
Tax bill.
Yes.
Okay. This year it's blue, and it was mailed on July 30th, 2014.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Last year it was green. And I saved these, by the way. I have everybody's pie chart going back to Ken Kringle. We've probably done on Lotus 1, 2, 3. If anybody remembers that. This was August 12th, 2013. The reason, there's something missing out of both these. Why they were both. In 2013, the borough passed an ordinance establishing the exemption and abatement law, property tax abatement. And there was a condition in there. And the condition was that the taxpayer was supposed to be notified, receive notification of a tax abatement program. And I'll just read the section. It's the statute. It's prescribed. It has to be done as per the statute. It says, the borough clerk shall include a notice in the mailing of the annual property tax bills to each owner of the properties where exemptions are authorized pursuant to this ordinance, advising such property owners of same before the end of the first year following adoption of this ordinance. Actually, I would have preferred getting that notice last year. However, it could have been done this year, but it wasn't. I guess my question now, are we going to get another tax bill to fulfill the requirement of the tax abatement statute?
Well, Bill, how would we solve this problem? We just send out another letter and there's another reason to send
No letter. It has to be with the tax
Gene,
bill.
I'm asking our attorney a question, so you have to wait.
Well, I think sending out another letter would solve the problem.
we'll send out another letter.
No, the statute is prescriptive, sir.
Jamie, we understand your concern. We hear you loud and clear. We understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, let me just tell you something,
What you're saying is
Mayor Doherty.
the
The taxpayer has not been provided notice of this tax abatement program. And it was passed over a year ago. And it should have been included, according to law, in the tax bill. Not mailed to people that you think should get it. It's supposed to be included in the tax bill. And we did not get it. I asked the same question last year, and apparently it fell on deaf ears.
Well, we can rectify it according to our attorney by sending out a letter explaining that it should have been sent with the tax bill.
Well, it would simply be notice of the tax abatement law.
Yeah, that's all.
It was supposed to be in the bill,
Right,
according to law.
Right, Gene, as you
It's
pointed out.
done that way for a reason, Mayor.
I understand it. As you pointed out, it wasn't, so we're gonna fix the issue. Any other questions, comments on the resolution calendar? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion. Aye. First is a resolution authorizing the payment of bills.
We've separated the bill list into two. The first one is the general bill list, the bulk of it. The second bill list is just two bills, one from Moderano, one from Stavola, of which I believe we have extensions.
Right. I'll need to read myself on first. Okay. I'll offer the resolution authorizing the payment of bills. The first one.
Councilwoman Keel Blackford? Yes. Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Where do we spend money? Real quick, the Piano Plaza restoration, what's going on there?
That was a project, the fountain didn't survive the winter, and so we disassembled it and paved over that section. We provided for an electrical connection so that when the Christmas tree comes back, it can be connected in that location, in hopes that through a fundraising effort or something of that sort, we can bring back the fountain in the plaza at a later date.
So what is this is
It's mostly concrete masonry work.
So this is the bill for taking out the fountain?
That's the bill for taking out and making that level, that area level.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next resolution authorizing payment of bills, the two companies, Moderano and Stavola. And for the record, both Councilman Bean and Council President McGovern are refusing those bills. I'll offer.
Councilwoman Keel Blackford? Yes. Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next resolution for Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program. This is the public hearing for to apply, and we'll see what happens, but it's worth applying. I'll offer.
Second. Councilwoman Keel Blackford? Yes. Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes, resolution supporting the increase in funding for the New Jersey Shore Protection Fund. This is simply saying that there should be more money for the New Jersey Shore Protection Fund. I'll offer.
Second.
Councilwoman Keel Blackford? Yes. Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next, I'll offer the consent agenda. All resolutions listed.
Councilwoman Keel Blackford? Yes. Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next are our ordinances. First ordinance, this is for public reading, or second reading and public hearing, ordinance 2014-12, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 20, licenses of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Belmar, section 5-1, designation of amusement or entertainment areas. Open for public hearing. Any public discussion you'd like to be heard, please raise your hand. Wait to be called on. Or just come on up.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Name and address for record. You represent somebody?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Gregory Bella, the law firm of Collins, Bell, Cassell, and I have the honor and privilege of representing Sonny and Rita Nardone, who own, trying to open up an arcade in Belmar. The ordinance you have in front of you, we appreciate the time and your planning board staff and everything. Just so the board is aware, this is simply the old Nord Auto Parts store. Your ordinance is very quirky in the sense that your ordinance only permits arcade-type businesses only on certain areas of Ocean Avenue. An arcade-type area where kids go and play video games per hour. Very similar to the Silver Ball Arcade in Asbury Park. There's a very limited area in your ordinance that provides for this type of activity for children, not only in the summer, but in the winter and year-round. This ordinance is proposed to rectify the situation, provide an area on Main Street, to provide an area for children to have a place where there's arcade year-long, that services not only the beach area, but the residents of Belmar year-long on Main Street, which would be a great nexus between a business like this and all the other businesses on Main Street, including restaurants and food. This would be a place where it does not have that type of activity, so it would be a great nexus between the other restaurants and other businesses on Belmar Boulevard, on Main Street. It would be a great benefit to the borough of Belmar. So I just thank the mayor and council for reviewing this.
Thank you. Any other public comment, questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion. Next, I'll offer for adoption, move an offer for adoption ordinance 2014-12. I have a second, and then we can have discussion. The council wants to have discussion. Second, okay. So before we do vote on it, I just want to sort of let people know that the genesis of this. We have a lot of parents and kids who want to see more activities for children in town. One of the things we did a couple of years ago was we opened up a miniature golf course on Route 35. Now we're looking at having an arcade at the old Norwood Auto Parts. It's on Main Street. It's not very big. If you have kids, if you've been to a place like I Play America, that's enormous. Or if you've been to Jenkinson's down at Point Pleasant, those are huge as well. This is much smaller than that, and it's really geared towards local kids, Belmar kids, and that's part of the reason why it's across the street from an elementary school, which obviously is also good marketing for them. I think this is something that we need to continue the trend of more things for kids in town. We have a great recreation department that Council President Brian McGovern built over decades and is moving forward. We have a lot of the things, but when we can engage private enterprise like the miniature golf course and like this arcade to bring in things for our youth, I think it's a step in the right direction and make us much more family-friendly town. So that's what I think was comments. I don't know if any of the council have comments.
Do we know an occupancy level for this arcade? And what do we do if there's an overflow? Where do those kids stand on a line out on Main Street, or?
The occupancy, I guess, would be set by the
fire marshal.
And that's just a square footage.
Do we have an idea of what that occupancy level may be?
Craig?
Yeah.
Councilman, yeah.
We don't know the exact occupancy. It's going to be less than 1,500 square feet. You got to remember that this is still going to go before the planning board. So this is not something that if you approve it, that we open up tomorrow. This is going to be reviewed by your planning board, all your types of concerns regarding overflow and everything. That'll all be presented at the planning board meeting subsequent to now. But we do understand your concerns. We understand that. So we have all those issues we're going to address to the planning board when that gets in the formal review process.
This is just for a limited area between 11 and 12 along Main Street on the east side. My hope is that this is successful, it works, it's a benefit to the town, and we can attract other private operators to come in with other kid-related activities, either something like that or something different that's a draw for children. But any other comments, questions?
My only concern, since it's across from a school, is that the kids come out of school at 3 o'clock and run across the street. Is there any provision that the same children are not there 5 days a week, 7 days a week? I don't want to see somebody's grades going down because they're spending too much time. Will they be able to work with the school principal?
Obviously, my clients want to be a good area, you know, but are the places more like you pay for the hour? So it's not one of these places, as I grew up in Hazlet, I go down to Kingsbury. You have a couple quarters in your hand, and you're there for 5-6 hours watching other people play. This is where you come in for an hour, you're paying for the hour, you're playing for the hour, then you're kind of leaving. It's not a hangout place where I'm going to go, and it reminds me as a kid going to Kingsbury with my dad. It's, you know, when he was playing pinball, I had 25 cents, I'd watch another kid play for a couple hours. You know, watching them play Pac-Man. This is not like that. This is where you're going to play for an hour, and then you're going to leave.
You're going to leave on your own choice, or you have to leave?
No, there's two types, and we'll discuss it at the planning board. You pay per hour, and depending on the age of the student, you try, and we've already talked about this with my clients, that if you go there with a parent, your parent drop your kids off, you have the option to sign them in, and not be released until the parent comes back. So there, we're going to have, because knowing that there's going to be children there, but you know, we're going to be the supervisors there. Parents are obviously welcome to come in, but that's how it is. If the people are dropping kids off, they sign them in, they get released to their kids. Now, if they go over the hour, parents are going to have to pay for it. We're not going to kick kids out in the street on Main Street. It's not going to be a hangout place. That's not the purpose. This is a place where you go with your family, play for an hour, go to a restaurant. Drop your kids off, go to the parents go to a bar for an hour, and come back and pick your kids up. It's going to be something that is going to join the community. It's not going to be a place where it's going to be a blight on the community where everyone's going to be hanging out. This is a place, it's a little business, it's less than 1,500 square feet, it's not a big place. So it's really going to fit in well with the Main Street area.
Can I ask a question? When you say video games, we mean pool tables, or we mean, at home you have a more powerful video game system than any arcade game out there almost. Like, what kind of games do you think of?
I don't know, have you ever been to a Buster place?
Yes, Dave & Buster.
Very similar to that. It's going to have those type of video games, yes. You go to the Monmouth Mall, you're outside the movie theater to Sony, you see those video games. You don't have those video games like your Sony PlayStation 4 or whatever is coming out today. There's still a need. It's not going to be a pool table. That's not, this is for kids. They don't play pool. They just don't. They're playing electronic video games with gun shooting people, racing other people. It's those games that join, you know, when you have, you know, that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be a
And is this going to be maintained? Like, is this, you have somebody there on site, and you're just going to unlock it, let the people come in and use their money?
No, that's the point. No, because there's always going to be somebody there because you're paying by the hour. Okay, so it's not going to be a place where you say, open the door, and there's a dollar machine changing quarters all day. There's got to be someone there because we're collecting the money every hour. So it's not going to be a lock. You can't go home. I'll see you in a couple hours.
Will there be a Pac-Man?
No, centipede. Please, please.
High price is 3.
That's true.
2.
And how many hours can I drop my kids off?
We can work on that.
I think some of the places do have great systems where you get bands, like the mom gets the band, the child gets the band.
And it's just such a small place. You're not going to lose anybody there. It's from here to the, you know, it's not that big. So it will provide great entertainment for all the residents of Belmar. It's going to be open year round. It's going to be on Main Street. It's not going to be on the beach where, to be honest with you, you pay $5 for an hour of video games. You're not going to afford to rent an Ocean
And I hope, you know, with all due respect, I hope that the parents know where their kids are and monitor how long they're there and drop them off and pick them up, you know, so they do get home at the appropriate time to do their homework. So I think it's a very nice idea.
We hope to get good grades, and as part of that, they get to come back and play video games. As part of their report card.
Just one more question on my part. It's for the council. Are we able to be specific as to where it can be? Because I'm saying, let's say someone sees it as being very successful, and they say, oh, there's a big empty Acme. Can we stop that?
This is
from going
only
into the Acme?
between 11 and 12 on Main Street.
As your mayor just indicated, I know your council, that this resolution specifically provides only between 11th and 12th and 200 feet back.
Can someone come in after that and say, hey, I'm buying the Acme, I want an arcade, you can't stop me?
You have to go to,
for us.
you'd have, no, you'd have to.
Can we say no to them and yes to you?
You go to this, no, this is different, this is just a zone change. If I want the Acme tomorrow, and I want to build it, and I want to put an arcade in that bit, I'd have to go to the zoning board and get a use variance. That's, because it's not, the only place it's permitted now is between like 2 or 3 streets on Ocean Avenue, and if you drop this ordinance, between 11th and 12th and 200 feet back on that block. Other than that, you have to go in front of the zoning board.
So we can stop someone from going into the Acme if your arcade proves to be very successful.
It will not be a permitted use any place other than the zone between 11th and 12th. You have to go to the zoning board for use variance.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'll call roll. Very good, second.
Councilman Keel Blackburn? Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Before we continue on our ordinances, if the council would indulge me, we have someone from the National Dance League Foundation with their donation. I'd like to have him come on up and tell us what he did. I think he checked for $5 million, is that right?
Next year. Just call it Yellow Brick Road.
Will you please present you?
If you just let the council know your names.
I'm Anthony Pasquale,
I'm Lisa Chickley.
and we have a dance mob on the boardwalk. Thanks for the town council approved this, and we were able to raise $1,000 to donate for Santa Fe. Thank you. And we're going to be provided that hopefully will be on the website and different places, and it really was a fun day. Thank you, and we enjoyed it.
Excellent. What song did you guys dance to?
It was from Teen Beach Movie, Surf Stuff.
You can do it right now for us real fast.
If you
Colleen, jump in.
No, but I didn't see, I thought we were going to have a couple of you guys down there. We didn't see you there.
No, because we knew you were there, that's what I mean. But thank you very much, it's very generous, appreciate you coming to Belmar.
Thank you so much.
At dark, perfect. All right, next is second reading public hearing ordinance 2014-13 ordinance amending chapter 40 development regulations revised general ordinances of the Borough of Belmar. This is open for public hearing. Anyone wants to comment on this? No? No one's nice. All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll offer move for adoption of ordinance 2014-13.
Second.
Councilman Keel Blackburn? Yes. Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Next is second reading public hearing ordinance 2014-14. Ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, vacating a portion of a public road in the Seaport redevelopment area in furtherance of the redevelopment project at Block 57, Lot 4. This is the paper road, I guess we call it, Paper Street, that is just down here by where the old ice house used to be. It's not going to be part of that project. Nice thing is we're going to generate some revenue off of it. So this is open for public hearing. Any comments, questions on this? Yes, Chief.
Gene Kramer, 4th Avenue. Turning up or turning down?
Nico complaining over here, it's too cold.
Okay, this ordinance, vacation of a street, refers to the borough tax map, first paragraph. A couple things I noticed. Page number 2, the ordinance refers to River Road twice. Not just the ordinance itself, but what was also published in the newspaper. Tax map has no river road over by where this property is located. It's River Avenue. And also in the meets and bounds description, which is an attachment, there's no reference to River Road there also. it's River Avenue. So the ordinance itself is referring to the wrong road, according to the borough tax map. On page 2, there's a section here called Section 2. Makes reference to a director of law. And I think that's a good idea. Actually, I've been wondering, should have done this a long time ago. Designate one attorney, so that person could be like, the borough has a bunch of attorneys working for it, right?
Too many.
Too many, right, absolutely. And make that director of law. This is what they teach you in management school. If you have to deal with more than one attorney, make sure you only have to point one finger, and make that attorney, you know, the perfect prick to watch over the other ones.
Gene.
And
you can't.
That was perfect language. It was nothing offensive with that. I think everybody knows what that means.
I think they do, but let's.
Then again, in Section 3, I think it's a wonderful idea. So that when we get to something here where there's a question, we can point to one finger to one attorney and get an answer. Some accountability. Okay. So we got the wrong road, and it conflicts. Oh, by the way, the attachment to the attachment. I guess this is a given, so that anybody at some time can just. And by the way, the attachment was not published in the paper. I have a printout of what was in the paper. It's not marked as an exhibit. What we have is a sheet here marked Exhibit A, which has, I guess, another sheet behind it. So and what is here appears to be some sort of clipping out of a title report. And actually there it's part of the letterhead has been, by copy machine, apparently been blocked out. There's no signature or a name of a professional land surveyor, and the document is undated. I don't know, go approve what you want. Actually, you know, the bulk of this, the frontage of the property, I don't really have any problem with that, the borough giving up its part of its right of way, and that would be probably blend in better with the borough's parking lot that we have behind this building. Okay, but for years I rode this train, and every time I rode the train, there's a part of a right of way there. In fact, River Avenue was part of a what used to be called a right of way in common. And I always got comfort. When I took the train, I'd try to get by the window and look down by the river and see what was going on there. And I always got comfort knowing that on the Belmar side of the river, there was always enough room in case that bridge had to be replaced, that you would not have to, you would be able to build one parallel without having to discontinue service. And unfortunately, by putting, commercial and an apartment building here, it'd be a pimple on the ass of progress if that bridge had to be replaced. And we all know it's going to have to happen someday. That bridge is rusted. So, it's certainly not the highest value best use of the property.
Thank you. All right, I'll make a motion to close the public portion for this ordinance.
Aye.
I'll offer move for adoption. Ordinance 2014-14.
Councilwoman Keough Blackburn? Yes. Councilman Governor?
April, can you just look to make sure that it is properly River Road or River Avenue, just so, okay, yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next is first reading introduction, ordinance 2014-15, ordinance amending supplementing chapter 42, beachfront and marine regulations, revised ordinances of the Borough of Belmar, section 18-13, waterways and watercraft. This is for first reading. It basically makes up for our mistake of not having the L Street Beach and Boardwalk included in our non-smoking areas for the beachfront. So if we decide.
Councilwoman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
I asked about this in the last meeting, and I thought it was included, so I was told, but I'm glad they're fixing it. Yes.
Councilman Ridley?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next is ordinance, amending chapter 40, the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, section 40-7.8. I'll offer for first reading and introduction.
Second?
Councilwoman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Ridley?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. That concludes our ordinances. Next is public session. Comment, please raise your hand. I will be called on. Come to the microphone, state your name, address, for the record. And again, it's a public comment, so we'll focus on the comment part. Everyone's got 5 minutes. And anything you'd like to talk about? Does anyone have a... Yes, Mark?
Mark Fitzgerald, 1902 Surf Avenue. I just want to say facts matter, and unfortunately, facts are stubborn things as well. And I'm speaking specifically about some of the discussion going on about the pavilion rebuilds. And the judge's decision in the Slocum versus Belmar case, I believe it dates back to 1989, but then there's some readings in the early 90s where it specifically allows for capital improvements on the beachfront to be charged to the beach utility. And in that ruling, number 17, engineering costs are 100% allocatable. Number 24, storm damage is 100% allocatable. And category 28, debt services for bonds associated with beachfront related projects are 100% allocatable. And item 30, capital costs associated with beachfront projects are 100% allocatable. So some of the diatribe that's going on, there's some homework to be done. And you have to look up the ruling and read it. Belmar suffered from some of those decisions, probably rightfully so. But relative to the beachfront costs, that wasn't the case. And the judge ruled in Belmar's favor. Besides that, there's another falsehood going around. Like no means no, don't build them, but yes, they could be built for cheaper, right? And no is going to mean no. If this referendum goes down, the chances of resurrecting it and doing it for less is going to be years out into the future. And some could argue that point, but the reality of it is a number of people voting no want no pavilions at all. So there's another falsehood going around that says vote no for cheaper pavilions. But no for cheaper pavilions is also going to equate to a bunch of people standing up and saying, I voted no because I didn't want any pavilions, not I want the cheaper pavilions. Another falsehood. We're building these pavilions for probably 10 cents on the dollar. If you say you're wildly off and your projections are wildly off, say 20 cents on the dollar. Say 30 cents on the dollar. That's fine. Because you're getting 2/3 or 80% paid for. And the town only has to pay 10 or 20%. When I say only, I know it's a big number, Jim. And I'm not discounting $1 million, right, out of the town. But $1 million to put 2 new pavilions up there is a great deal. The pavilions that were there had to go down. They were going to be condemned in the near future. And they would have gone up, and it would have been at full cost, even with your number, $4 million. We're doing 2 that are valued at 7 for $1 million. So, I mean, there's got to be some reality put here, because these falsehoods or the facts matter. And they're stubborn and they won't go away. Because the out-of-pocket cost to the town, to the taxpayers, to the residents, are not what is being promulgated out there. It literally is $1 million out of the $7 million cost. A legal open bid process was used to come up with these dollars. So this cheaper moniker that's getting thrown around out there is based on whose bids. Because where were these bids when the bidding process was put out there? As far as I know, no one's challenging the legality of the bid process that was used. So now we're sitting here saying we could build them cheaper. Well, where were you when the bids went out? I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that the municipality went out to bid, got valid bids in a legal way, came up with the lowest cost bid, is looking to move on it, and it's attempted to be blocked. It just doesn't make any sense. And then another fact, there's some sunk costs of that $7 million, whether we like it or not. If it gets voted down, yeah, maybe it's cheaper, right? But you can't act like those monies spent already are going to go away. So whether you like $1 million of architect and engineering costs or you don't, it's spent. So you can't not count that as part of your starting point. And also, what are you giving up? Cheaper isn't always better. When anybody built their house, when anybody did any work, did you put in Formica or did you put in granite? Did you build something nice or did you do it on the cheap? We're building these for the next 100 years. Let's not cut them back to the point where they're not going to be survivable and they're going to cost more money in the long run.
Mark?
Yes?
That's 5 minutes, so thank you.
Matt, excuse me, one last point. The buy board thing, and this is important because it's annoying to me. The cost of the pilings and the cost of the ramps and the cost of the boards to get to these two structures were part of the donation process. So if you could just simply allocate that red herring will go away, because apparently there's people saying, well, I donated to buy a board, but you know what? You donated to buy a piling, a hand railing, hurricane straps. So I'd really like to see that taken off and just simply say, fine, that money went to buy boards and pilings.
Hey, Mark, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about the...
I can't ask you questions, but you can.
You can ask me.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll answer anything.
We have to have other people.
I want to ask my question real quick. You did read the Slocum rule, or the
Yes.
Slocum rule, that's right. Do you remember in there about the specials, about what the judge ruled about the specials?
The special officers?
Yes.
Yeah, there's all sorts of allocations, some that I think we should take more advantage of, frankly.
Well, one of the rulings was that we're not allowed to charge specials that work at night to the beach utility, because the beach isn't open during the night. Do you remember reading that?
I read all of it, so yes. And there's certain portions of that fall in our favor and certain that don't.
Correct.
That's correct.
Because right now, we're doing every special to the beach utility. And I just find it unusual that you would bring up all the rules that we should be abiding by, but yet you skip over that one.
Well, because I'm a taxpayer here, and to the degree that it could fall into our favor, I'm going to lean that way every time as far as I possibly can, and not the other way to argue that people, you know, there's a treasure trove of money called the beach utility, and to the degree that we could use it legally, we should. And we should push it to the limit. And if that includes, by the way, includes road repair, which there's roads that need to be repaired on Ocean Avenue right now. Take down the beach utility and repair the asphalt up there that caved in from Hurricane Sandy, because it specifically says a percentage of Ocean Avenue road repair could be charged to beach utility.
I think
so. There's another one.
I got Tom Burch.
I think the main word you're looking for is legally used. Legally used. Absolutely legal. You know what? Well, all right. Until you get sued.
Yes, Mr.
Tom Diller, 1000 River Road. I'd just like to address one word to the gentleman here.
Just
facts.
Council.
All right. The word by the past speaker was, he used facts. He talked about inland and facts and everything, but we also have one fact also that the gentleman didn't speak of, that Gene Kramer spoke of several meetings ago. The one fact about all these pavilions here from 1900 till now is they're gone. They're all gone for many reasons, or whether it be weather, arson, or whatever, they're gone. And if you build another stick building, as this is, another $7 million stick building, it will be gone too in time. Not 100 years, less than that. Now, 7 million, that's an interesting figure too. That's a fact, that figure. In Spring Lake, they built the structural concrete building. Once the next storm comes along, that building will still be there. All these stick buildings around here will be gone again, but that building will be there. Pre-stressed structural concrete, it will be there, firm. Ours will be gone, and we'll be looking for another loan, handout, or whatever gift. I want to speak again on something else, but I'll speak.
No, go ahead. You have time. JJ, but this is, I mean, Tom, this is going to be your one opportunity to speak, so.
No. After everybody speaks, another person can speak again.
I'm telling you, now's the time to do it.
That's the rule.
No, it's not, but. Yes, Joy.
Joy DeSantis, 101 6th Avenue. I just want to say something very briefly to Mark. That he cannot speak as an attorney because I'm fairly certain you're not legal. I don't appreciate his interpretation of the law, and it's not accurate.
I'm a public citizen, I can voice my opinion.
What I really want to address is the numbers that are being put out and that have been put out by the municipality. And I really would like to address the project worksheets. There are 19 project worksheets that have been submitted by Belmar. 19. That's it. The time period is over. You cannot submit anymore. It's done. We've submitted them. There should be no confusion about that. It's on FEMA.gov. It's clear. There should be none of this back and forth. We might have this one open, this one is obligated. They are all obligated. There will be no, they are obligated at 90%. You cannot amend and ask for more than you originally asked for because the time period for that is over. Is that correct?
Just make your comments, please.
Okay. So, the project worksheets each have a number. Each project worksheet has a project name. The project boardwalk has an amount attached to it. It's been obligated. It has now also been awarded. The pavilions have not, because the process, there's an exit process, and that is correct, and they will not be awarded until such time as the buildings are built. So there's a lot of numbers that are unknown. But if you take these 6 project worksheets for the pavilions and you add up the 90% that has been obligated by FEMA, you will get $2,826,000. And if you add, and that is at 90%. If you hear what the mayor is saying we're getting, he's $850,000 off. He says we're going to be getting $3,677,000. Well, you need to be able to say, where did you get that $850,000 extra? It's not obligated to the pavilion. So if we're off by $850,000, and if the buy board campaign is up in the air for $727,000, that's a lot of money that is going to fall on the backs of the taxpayers, and they need to know the truth. This number is incorrect according to FEMA's obligation. You added $850,000 to it, and it's like a made-up number. And you need to be truthful to the residents. The obligations for the pavilion are $2,826,000, actually $922 more. And that's it. And I would like you to correct that and correct it before the election. And I think Mark would appreciate it because he's very concerned about being factual. And that's really all I have to say. And also, there are 19, yes, I'm sorry, I have 2 more seconds.
Go right,
There are,
a minute and a half.
okay, there are 19 project worksheets. They're each identified by a number. They also have a project name. They all have been obligated. There's no money floating around. There's no $9 million that was in the paper that we're expecting. Those are made up numbers. You need to be, if you have a grant that you're talking about, you can clarify that. But FEMA doesn't owe us anything else. Everything is aside from what they've obligated. The amendments can't be more than we've asked for. How could that make sense? How can we possibly get more money by amending the project worksheet because we are just deciding at that minute? It's untrue. You need to be factual, and you're off by $850,000. We're not getting $3,677,000. It's on the FEMA.gov website. Thank you.
Anyone want to talk about something other than pavilions? Yes, Brett.
Brendan Reed, 100 Ninth Avenue. Just a couple items. First, regarding the sculpture parks in Silver Lake, I've been in touch with Ronnie Wellman of the Torsia Gallery, who has organized this. He approached the Belmar Business Partnership, one of the meetings. So I researched into sculpture parks. I talked with Clifton, New Jersey, and with Piston, Pennsylvania, which is very impressive. Talked to the former mayor who organized this. And I advised Ronnie to come up with a business media plan for this. I've also heard suggestions, for example, from John Hutchinson, maybe we could come around with some additional photographs of what the other sculpture is going to look like. But actually, there's one right now in Torsia Gallery of a fish, which actually looks really cool, in my estimation. So when he comes, he's actually working on some sponsorships and some donations for this, so that when I know more about this, he's going to be coming back with some additional information. He's been in touch with Colleen. I will certainly pass that on. Second item, as we heard the discussion earlier, I want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly about limiting rear dining in the restaurant areas. If that is the case, certainly I would definitely support limiting rear dining. There's a talk about having a restaurant going in where Belmar Fitness is, and where I live, and certainly myself, and I know other tenants, we would definitely be opposed to having rear outdoor dining and building, considering that our units face that. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Brent. Yes, Claire.
Claire Dyke, 1017 14th Avenue. Mr. Mayor, I'll speak to you because I have the microphone. I'm so pleased at the possibility that we will be getting bocce courts. And I want to commend also, as Councilwoman Nicolay did, I want to compliment Councilwoman Blackburn on the excellent job she did in organizing the Choose Your Cover event. That's a big, big job. If it helps one person, it was worth holding. So I think that was a very, very fine effort on your part.
Yes, David.
David Schnack, 302 C Street. Just want to point out that these FEMA numbers that we received recently and that everyone's talking about, it's actually true that they are not carved in stone, because I've read about with Hurricane Katrina that for years afterwards, FEMA was going back down there and taking money back. And, you know, I haven't heard that they've gone years later and said, oh, we were supposed to give you another couple $1 million, but there have been many, many cases, and maybe I'll research it and put it up on the blog, where FEMA went down to New Orleans and actually took money back from a lot of towns that they decided wasn't merited. So, you know, that's a possibility. The 3.6 that is now 2.8, it could end up being even lower than that. And I noticed on the same document that came from Chris Smith's office, that their estimated insurance on the pavilion was $414 and not $44. That 44 number, is that certain? Is that an absolutely certain number? We're getting 44. That's your number from your stuff. That's absolutely certain, right? Okay, all right. Because FEMA estimated it at 414 for some reason. So there's only one insurance claim involving the pavilions, right? No questions. All right, thank you.
All right, seeing no one else, I'll make, oh, I'm sorry, Gene.
Gene Kramer, Point Avenue. Yes, sir. This is the board. Just in case there was any misunderstanding. I gotta admit, I gotta feel somewhat responsible here. I had contacted Jeff Tittle of the Sierra Club when the town was thinking about using rainforest lumber. And eventually the town went along with the Trex type of material. I realize that some of the disadvantages, there's advantages and disadvantages between the Trex and the rainforest lumber. One of them being is that the Trex is non-machinable. You can't take this and etch somebody's name on it, like they've done now in Lavalette for the people that donated for firewood. But it's got other advantages also. Number one, it doesn't destroy the rainforest, and it's a recyclable product. The other thing is the manufacturer of the Trex board is very prescriptive as to how you handle it and what tools you use. I bought this cut end for $1 from the installer down at the ocean front there years ago. And unfortunately, the edge on it here is broken. The contractor was using a ripsaw blade, where the manufacturer actually specifies that no blade is supposed to be have anything less than 20 teeth per inch. I just want to dismiss that business of the perfect contractor. There is no such thing. What we had here was not good inspection. The inspector should have picked up and known the specifications for the material and picked up that the installer was using the wrong tool to cut it. Another thing about this was, as you notice, the town wanted the herringbone pattern. So the board had to be cut on a hypotenuse, which leaves you with the longest edge. But there's an advantage to that now. You may actually be able to put along the edge, which say faces the roadway where you park your car, some sort of identification on it for people who actually bought the board. Just an idea.
Thank you. I told you before, so you have one chance.
Mr. Mayor, you're making up rules as you go along.
No, sir. Make a motion to close the public portion, adjourned.
Second.
Aye.
Oh. Thank you. But I'm so glad you're interpreting that law. Good job, Gene, as always. Good
Well, I made out better than the others.
No, I put it in my car and we need to make sure that as they connect to the
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure what it is.
We got two tax bills, by the way. We got two identical tax bills.
Realize the reason for not letting people know about the abatements, don't you?